Hello and welcome. In this episode, we're going to go over some basic Java and just general programming. We're going to go over three main topics: commenting, print statements, and your main method. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and make a Java class. Our project name is lessons. So our main class is going to be named the same. We want our main class to be the same name as our project name. That should always be done, and a lot of IDEs required. Alright, so when you create your class in IDEA, you will just get a basic class outline. Don't really have to know much about that at this point. But we're going to go ahead and do a couple things in here. So first, commenting. In Java and other programming languages, there are ways to make notes to yourselves or other programmers if you're working in multi-person project or team. Sometimes if you have 1,000 lines or more, it's hard to keep track of things. You might need to make a note to yourself, or if you're working on something and you want to let someone else know what you've done, you might make a comment in the area. In Java, there's two main ways to comment. You could do 2 slashes. Doing this will allow you to comment on one line. So I can write I am commenting. And all this does is it tells the computer to not interpret this as code. The computer basically just ignores this. Now, sometimes you might want multiple lines of code, and you can see there's already a comment above this that does that. But to do multiple lines, you're going to do on a /*, and then it ends with a //. And in IDEA, it automatically completes it for you. So anything between here, I am commenting. All these lines are commented out, and the computer will not worry about what's between this multi-line comment. Again, these are very important to remember what you were doing, keep track of things, let other people you're working with know what's going on. Commenting is very undervalued to a lot of programmers. A lot of programmers will forget about it and think it's not necessary. It is important to comment. I, too, sometimes do not comment, and that's not good. I've been trying a lot better to do my commenting because it's very important. I've many times gone back in projects and been like, okay, what is this? So make sure you comment. It does take extra time, but in the long run, it's better, and employers will love it if you're looking to utilize your programming skills in industry or use them on your resume. All right, so that's commenting. Now we're going to talk about print statements. So first things first, I'm going to put my main function first, and we'll talk about this right after the print statement. Alright, so now, if you saw my introduction to IntelliJ IDEA video, you would have seen a little bit of what a print statement was. Print statements can be done in Java by doing system.out.println. And then, for instance, let's print out hello. Or another way people will do print lines is just print, and here I'll put world. So let's actually switch these up, and I'll put a line here. And you're probably wondering what's the difference. So the main difference is that print line indicates that there will be a new line put after. So anything after this here will be put on a new line. For print, there is no new line put after it, so if you print something directly after this print, it will be on the same line. So let me show you. Let me go ahead and run this. I'm going to build a project. You see it was successfully built. I'm going to go to run and click lessons. And let's see what it prints out. It prints out hello.world. So you can see that's all on one line. Now let's go ahead and make this a print line. We'll rerun it. And now you can see world is on the next line. So it really just indicates that it's going down a line for the next print. It's really just formatting. There's also ways to do it elsewhere. A trick is doing a \n. That indicates a new line. So if I do this, even though it says print and should stay on one line, this \n will indicate that there should be a new line after, and you can see world is on another line. And then just to go back to original, this will be on the same line. Hello world. Remember, if you want to add a space in anywhere, you might have to do a trailing space like that for formatting. So now you can see there's hello space world. Alright, so now a main function. Your main function you could think of as your base of operations. So our main function is always going to be declared the same way. Public static void main, and then inside the parameters, which is indicated by these two parentheses, we're going to have string array args. Now let's not worry about what an array is, but we can just talk about that array is indicated by having these two square brackets right here. And all this is saying is taking in arguments, or basically just information and data when you start up your program. Now what I mean when I say base of operations is that your main function, when you run and execute the code, when you execute it, it's gonna go ahead and look at the first thing in your main function, and that's the first thing going to be executed. So the first thing inside that when I run this program that you're going to see is hello, and you see that down here. And that's because it looks for your main function, and then the code inside your main function is directly what it starts executing and displaying to the screen. So it's very important that you include your main function. At least one of your classes in your code needs to have a main function, and that's where you'll be really doing all the work. All the other stuff you'll be doing is defining things, and then you'll be utilizing them inside your main. Don't worry about really what this public static void stuff means. Those are just indicators. I'll quickly mention it, but don't get too bogged down if you don't really understand or get it at this point. So public is a modifier. All it's saying is that this is universally accessible. Sometimes you can make them less accessible with like a private value, and they can only be used inside this class if it's private. Void means there's no return value, so sometimes in a function we might want to take data out of it and use it somewhere else. If you want to take that data, you would need to return it, but in this case there is no data we're returning, which is typical in a main function, so we have void. Now main is just the name of our function. In other functions you could give the name of that function whatever. And like I mentioned, the string array of args is just arguments to pass in for something you might want to indicate to the program on startup. Just don't get too bogged down in this though. I'm sure we'll talk about this more later on, but I just wanted to give a little context if you were a little bit far ahead than a beginner, but I don't want to get too bogged down in it. Now one last thing I just want to mention about print statements. Print statements are really good for debugging. Just how commenting clears things up in a really big program, print statements might be just as helpful. Sometimes you might lose track of a value, or you might be getting an error, or it's giving you information that's wrong. Print statements can help you track down what data looks like at a specific point in the program, and then you can see where maybe something might be incorrect. And it's really good at fixing issues you're having. So anytime you might, be checking a value or something, that value doesn't look right, you could probably use a print statement to check that value directly, and then you could be like, okay, this is a 5, it should be a 10. Let's go back and let's see what made this the wrong value. So print statements are very valuable, and you should definitely use them as a good debugging tool. Other than that, that's really the essential basics of things that you'll see a lot and be working with. We'll get into variables in the next video, so thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Comment if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to help. Have a good one.